Hey everybody, today I thought I'd start something a little bit different, and rather than me talking about new to me games, I thought I'd talk about games that are already in my collection that are still hitting the table. So there's nothing new to me here, and of course these are ones that have been hitting the table in the last couple of weeks. So Drop It. So Drop It featured on my new to me games last month. One that I bought off a complete whim. I didn't really plan on getting this one, but I found it at a really low price. Silly little dexterity games where you're trying to place these cardboard kind of tiles into this kind of perspex dual layered sheet thing and make them not to touch each other, or at least not to make shape touch shape, or not to make colour touch colour. And you know what, this has actually been a pretty big hit. It's been requested to be played, and it's gone down really well, so I'm still enjoying it. I don't know if it's going to hold up for long term, but for what it is right now, it's getting played consistently, and I'm still enjoying it. Next up, I've been playing Apua. So Apua, a couple of months ago, I got this one to the table for the first time, and I think a big part of me enjoying this one so much and me keeping it was the fact that I had such low expectations for it. Again, I got this one at a very cheap discount price, despite being from Velir Games. This one is a kind of a strange worker placement game where you are actually rolling a bunch of dice and then allocating those dice to different worker placement spots, which will kind of lock in that value for the other players as well. So they need to roll those dice in order to visit those spots. It works pretty well, and considering how unknown this game is. I think maybe the second plays or after the following plays didn't hold up quite as well as the original because that expectation was so low on the first time. But it's still a solid one, and one I recommend checking out if you want something a little bit different for a dice-driven worker placement game. Next up, got a classic party game with Wits and Wagers. So Wits and Wagers has really been one of my go-to party games, one that I play with my family quite a lot. And for some reason, I probably haven't played this game in the last 4 or 5 months because I've been getting other party games to the table. But I managed to get this one back to the table, and it's still just a big hit. Plays so smoothly. If you like your trivia games, this is probably the best one out there, as you are betting a number-based answer and using these dry erase boards. And the kind of the extremities of these bets are going to give you bigger odds. And it's a really good one because you can actually bet on other people's answers if you don't know the answers yourself. Fantastic, one of the best ones, and I absolutely adore this game, and it's probably never going to leave my collection. Next up, I have Nida Velir. So Nida Velir, probably one of the slow burner hits of last year. I think most people who've played this game now do tend to rave about it quite highly. And I'm one of those. I must admit, when I first played this one, I thought it was good. I didn't think it was quite as good as I think it is now. So this has been a game that's constantly been improving in my head. I really like what this game does. It plays in a great amount of time. It only takes about 45 minutes to play, but offers a good amount of different paths to victory and strategies and tactical play as well, as you're trying to bid for these different cards, and all these cards score in really interesting ways. So it pretty much is like set collection galore in this game, but it works so well. I love the bidding system where you place these tokens down, and the tokens that you don't use are kind of added together to give you a new bidding chip. Very clever game, and one that I think is great for lots of different situations. Experienced gamers can get a lot out of this one, as well as being an introductory game. So Nida Velir, again, going from strength to strength and really enjoying that one still. Next up, I have mikarinos. This one was another game I got to the table for the first time. I think it was last month, and I rated it quite highly. And I think I like it even more now. So this one, I am considering upping my rating for it to give it a shield of quality. So this is actually, I think it's been re-implemented now by a game called Rome, R-O-A-M. But this is a very simple, little, almost abstract cube placement game. You're trying to control these regions by placing cubes. And then once that's kind of sorted, you are flipping them over and getting these character tiles, which give you powers but also give you scoring by investing in this little museum part of the board. Very streamlined. I love the simplicity of this one, and you know what? Again, the more I play it and the more I think about this one, the more I'm kind of appreciating it. So this one is not going anywhere, and I'm looking forward to playing it more. That is Mikarinos. Got some smaller games now. So Village Green. Village Green, a very small little card placement puzzly style game. I'm so on this one. I don't think my thoughts have changed too much. I've just put a review on this one out actually, and I think it's somewhat a little bit too restrictive, but it does work well as a solo game. I've got no real issue with it. It just doesn't really kind of set my world on fire. It's okay. It's a pretty good one, but for a 15 to 30 minute game, it works pretty well if you like your puzzly style thing. But I don't think it's the best of the genre. On contrary to that, Parade. So Parade is a game that I kind of try to evangelise quite a lot because not many people talk about this one. This is a weird card-based game as you're placing these cards in a queue and then trying to, sometimes being forced to collect cards, but you want to be scoring as few points as you can. So collecting cards is normally not a good thing, but if you do collect them, you want to be having the most of them because they're only going to be worth 1 point each rather than the full face value of those cards. Really clever. Does a lot with a little, I think, and a bit like Wits and Wages. I haven't played this one in quite some time. Got it back to the table, and it's so good. Just going from strength to strength, and a bit like mikarinos, I am considering upping my rating of Parade. Definitely one of the best fillers out there. Also, strictly two-player games. Airland and Sea. I'm still enjoying this one. I love the way this game does so much with just those few cards. I love all the way that the cards synergize with one another as you're trying to control these different theatres of war. So you've got your air, land and sea. You're placing these cards and not only considering the number to control those regions in a tug-of-war style fashion, but also the powers on those cards are so interesting. What you can do is they can let you kind of flip cards face over, they can boost strengths, they can let you manipulate the board and stuff. And I love that withdrawal system where if you think you're going to lose the round, you can back out of the fight and suffer fewer points or give fewer points to your opponent than if you were to fight to the end. A really, really solid two-player only game that actually made my top 10 two-player game list. So Clover, another pretty brand new party game. This one has a very similar feel to a game like Just One. This one, again, another word association one where you're kind of putting two words or these little cards together on this plastic clover, and then the two words that come next to each other, you're going to give a clue here, and then you're going to take all these cards off, you're going to mix them up with another one, and then try to put them back in order. So I like this one quite a lot. This one is again, another one that's been doing well in terms of being played with my family. Really low barrier to entry. And that's pretty much been the reason why games like Wits and Wages haven't been getting to the table, because I've been playing so Clover. But really liking this one. I think it's a little bit slow at times, but I think the fundamentals are really enjoyable, and it's consistently hitting the table. Also, one of my favourite games from this year, Mandala. So Mandala, this is another, as you can see, a strictly two-player game, and I am absolutely infatuated with this game. I can't say enough good things about it. As you're playing these cards down to bid for these cards in the middle, but when you collect these cards in different orders, they're going to be worth different points to you than they might be to your opponent. A really great, tight little game, and if you watch my top 10 two-player game, two-player only games, then this was actually my number one. So cannot get enough of Mandala. Consistently been hitting the table since I've got this one, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Speaking of two-player only games, Seven Wonders Duel. Just like Mandala, really, since I got this one, consistently hitting the table. Really enjoy the drafting system of this game, and I've just actually tried it with the first expansion, Pantheon. I won't share my thoughts on that one because I'll save that to the to my monthly review, where I go through all the games, all the new to me games I've played and new to me expansions I've played. But spoiler alert, it was good. And I've just really enjoyed what this game does. So many different paths to victory. I love the infrastructures you have to build. I love the different victory conditions. Are you going to win by points? Are you going to win by military? Or are you going to win by science? And really enjoyed this one. I didn't think I would at all. I think it's fantastic. Something completely different here with Torres. So Torres, Kramer and Kiesling game from, I think it was the year 2000 this one was released. I think it's a former Spiel des Jahres winner. Yeah, here we go. In 2000, Spiel des Jahres winner. This is an abstract game where you're trying to place these kind of plastic castle layers on this board, and you're trying to not only build upwards, but you can build outwards as well. But your score at the end of each round is going to be the height of the building times the kind of footprint of the building, and it has this action point system where you get 5 action points. You can spend them how you like. Are you going to build up? Are you going to move your pieces? Are you going to kind of spawn new pieces onto the board? I like how quick this one is. I did play this one at 2 players, and I think that's probably not the optimal player count. I think in the future I'll probably stick to 3 or 4 players just to make that game a bit tighter. But this is kind of one of those games that I really can't find fault with. maybe it's never going to be my favourite type of game because abstracts aren't really my thing. But as abstracts go, this is certainly one of my favourite ones. But it's still a really solid Kramer & Keeson game that I won't get rid of. But it is what it is, really. It's so clever, it's so concise. I appreciate its simplicity, but I do have to be in the right mood to play it. I enjoyed my play of it, but as I said, I will definitely stick to 3 or 4 players in the future. But Kramer & Keeson, you can't go wrong. So, my farm shop. This is a game that I've had the real kind of ongoing desire to play consistently since we picked this one up. This one is the spin on the Machikoro space-based system, as you have a row of cards, or a bunch of cards, and you're rolling dice and you're using them to kind of collect resources and collect new cards to put on your little tableau. I like the resource management system in this one, where you have a strict capacity of goods you can keep, but then you want to visit certain cards so you can sell them for points. I like the mitigation in this one. I'm a bit turned off by I think I've mentioned it several times, that the box cover doesn't really do it for me. I think it, I don't know, it just feels cheap and a bit tacky. But the gameplay itself is so solid, and one of those games that, again, one of those games that I'll play anytime. It's a crowd pleaser, it's fast, and it just ticks a lot of boxes for me. So I think my farm shop is really kind of growing to be a bit of a staple for my collection, and I'm not even slightly getting tired of this one, and happily play this one for for as far as I can see in the future. Something a bit heavy now with Santa Maria. So Santa Maria, one of the many dice drafting games I have in my collection. This one, not one of my favourite ones. Still a rock solid one. I think I initially rated this one 8 out of 10. This one is probably one of the simpler ones as well. Actually, a pretty streamlined rule set, as you are trying to draft tiles, or buy these tiles and put them on your player board. Then you're rolling these dice, and then you can draft these dice, trying to beat the other players to the punch to activate rows and columns on your player board. And I like the kind of puzzly nature to this one, as you activate things in order, but the last spot on that row or column gets blocked off by the dice you've drafted. So doing things in order is quite important. I like the little bit of engine building here, where you can fulfill these orders and at the end of the round collect money or collect points or climb these tracks to get even more points or bonuses. It's a really good one. It plays in, I think, I'll play this 2 players, and they can get it played in about 45 minutes because it's only 3 rounds, and those 3 rounds do go pretty quickly. And it does have a nice pacing as well, because before you know it, the first round's done and you haven't really achieved much, but by the 3rd round you can do a hell of a lot with your turn. I'm not sure if I've got too much more mileage in this one, because I do have so many other dice drafters, but it's still a strong recommendation from me. It's Santa Maria, a really nice, almost, I suppose I'd call it midweight Euro, but on the lower end of the midweight. So, small box game, another classic Wolfgang Kramer game, 6 Nymph. So, a bit like Parade, I haven't played this one for probably 6-7 months or so, and also another kind of classic in my collection. I would never consider parting with this one, but really happy I got to play this one again. It is so much fun, never ever has let me down. If you're not familiar with what 6 Nymph is, it's a game where you're basically playing these numbered cards and trying to score as few points as you can, because when you collect these bullheads, they'll actually score you points which you don't want. But you're basically playing cards in rows, in kind of numerical order, simultaneously with the other players. And as soon as somebody plays the 6th card of a row, then they take all the existing ones in that row, which are going to be obviously not good, because you want to score a few points as you can. But an absolute classic, love it, never get tired of this one. So fast, so much fun, and I think it has more control in this game than people might initially give it credit for. That is 6 Nymph, great filler game. Speaking of filler games, I have 5-Minute Mystery. So not normally the kind of thing I'd play. So this is a real-time deduction game where you are basically trying to find these logos on these pictures. So you have these really cool, interesting drawings, and you're trying to find these logos on, and then you're trying to mix these logos or match these logos with this codex thing. And when you do that, you get to draw one of these cards and put it next to the face-down culprit card, which will kind of indicate you towards or away from a certain characteristic of that character. So we might say, does the character have a hat, or do they wear glasses? And you're doing all this against the clock. It's a real-time 5-minute game. I like the pressure in this one. Sometimes you just can't find that image you need to find, so the tension is ramping up. But if you know what, for silly fun, I think this one is actually quite good. it only takes 5 minutes, so it's nice and quick to get on and off the table. And it's one of those games you play a few times and then move on to something else. But what it does quite well. I can't think of anything else that does what 5 Minute Mystery does, quite the same. And, not normally the kind of thing I'll play, but I'm enjoying it. That is 5 Minute Mystery. And another filler game, we have Dice Miner. So Dice Miner was a bit of a surprise for me. So this one was a project that my brother backed on Kickstarter. I completely went into this one blind, didn't know anything about it. But this one is a dice drafter game where you are basically drafting dice from this mountain, and as you can see, you're kind of loading them onto this 3D mountain here, and you're drafting them, but you only draft from the pinnacles of this mountain, and that's a really cool thing. So you want to try collect these sets in terms of the pips going from 1 to 5. You can score these yellow ones here, which are pure points, and if you score the most of them, you get double points. You can also kind of shaft your opponents by having to collect these black die, but you can actually mitigate that and turn them into positive points by collecting another die. So it's very, very simple in how it works, but it has a nice flow to it. Initially your bunch of dice are scored, and then you actually keep hold of those dice for future rounds, so your score gets multiplied as the game goes on. But consistently hit the table, pretty much, well, as I said, very consistently, almost very regularly since I've got this one, and I still enjoy it. I think, I don't think it's going to last forever in terms of what it can do because it is so simple, but for now, it's still a good one. And finally, the last game I'm going to talk about is Kubitos. So Kubitos was a bit of a strange one for me. So this one is a push your luck dice rolling game, as you're collecting these dice, and then you're rolling them. If you ever roll all blank faces, and you go bust, but you're using those dice by not only collecting currency on them to buy new dice, but also you want to collect these foot markers or these foot icons because they let you run around the track. And running around the track is the point of the game because you want to win the race. But there's lots of different paths to go down, so think of basically the Quacks and Quedlinburg, but with dice. I was kind of on the fence with this one because I don't really think that this is necessary when you do have a game like Quacks and Quedlinburg in your collection. I think Quacks is quite a bit better and kind of, well, to be honest, it does everything better than what Kubitos does. I'm not saying this is bad, and I love the concept and idea of this one, but I think in practice, it's not as fun as you might think it would be. That was my initial thoughts. I played it again, and to be honest, I stand by those thoughts. So, not being the biggest hit for me. I don't think it's bad. It's okay, but I think Quacks and Quedlinburg is the one for me, and this one won't be sticking around for too much longer. So there we go. Then that just concludes this quick video. I thought I'd just give you just give you an idea of what's been hitting the table for me. So quite a bunch of different games here, and it's been a good few weeks. So hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye.